Welcome back, everybody. Our next keynote speaker is Professor Alexander Ilic. Hello, Alex. You are in Zurich today, not so far away. You are a deep tech entrepreneur, researcher, and investor. While at ETH, you co-founded the computer vision startup Dacuda, which you successfully sold to Magic Leap. You were named twice Entrepreneur of the Year. You are now back at ETH Zurich, where you co-founded and head the ETH AI Center. So Alex, today you're going to tell us more about spatial artificial intelligence. And you asked the question, is it a canvas for new reality?
Cool. Thank you very much for this warm introduction. It's a pleasure for me to be here. As mentioned, I have the honor of leading and building up the newly found ETH AI Center. But today I want to talk a little bit more about my entrepreneurial story and also how we jumped from one medium to another one, and then from my learnings that I observed over the last couple of years, where I believe that the next medium will come and what opportunities it provides for a number of applications. So in this talk, I wanna highlight two elements. First of all, how did we start with the startup Dacuda? From our simple beginnings, how did we make the jump to the smartphone world, and then lead over to spatial AI, which I believe will be a significant medium coming up, potentially replacing the mediums that we have today. And throughout this talk, I believe that a lot of the new opportunities need also entrepreneurs. I believe in people. And so that's also why I like this forum very much, because it brings together art, science, technology, and entrepreneurship, things that I'm very, very passionate about. So Dacuda was founded in 2009 as a spin-off from ETH Zurich and University of St. Gallen. We focused on real-time computer vision technology. And as many startups in that stage, we started really from the technology side and not so much from the application side. We looked for what are places where we can apply our technology. And I will show a little bit more how it looks like, but with our technology, we were able to invent the world's first scanning mouse and the world's first fully mobile virtual reality solution in 6 degrees of freedom. We were able to secure a number of high-profile customers in Asia and in the US, and we were lucky to get backed by investors from Switzerland and also the US. 2007, we made a successful exit to the company Magic Leap, which I will also mention a little bit more. So what are the things that we pioneered? So we had a technology that can basically, based on camera information and inertial information, build navigation in 2D and 3D. So it's building a map while tracking at the same time. So this is a technology that has been used by NASA for robots to locate themselves on Mars, but it's something that we brought outside of the robotics domain to something that was unexpected for many people. What you see on the left-hand side looks at the first glance as a normal computer mouse. But if you look at the bottom side, you notice that there's a window and there's a camera basically sitting inside. So let me just play the video that you see how that looks like. So basically putting that into the hand of a human, you suddenly get a true productivity booster. So you press the button, in real time you see what the camera is seeing, and it stitches everything together perfectly in sub-pixel accuracy. It's a tool for high productivity and creativity, since it's bridging the gap between the paper-based medium and, for instance, here, as you see, tools that we're using in Word and PowerPoint. So this was our beginning. The market was selected because smartphones were not as far advanced as running our algorithms, and it was still a mass market at the time with over 500 million units per year. Soon we realized that mobile is the next big medium, and it became more and more powerful, especially on the camera side. So we advanced the technology from a 2D use case to track basically in 3D. And that was in 2016, where basically it was one of the world's first solution where you can play titles for virtual reality with a very, very simple smartphone solution. So here you see we used a simple Google Cardboard just to illustrate how easy and accessible and cheap it can be. You put the phone in, and it can track your movements in 6 degrees of freedom. At that time, it was only possible to do that with expensive sensors and external lighthouses. So nowadays we take that for granted, but keep in mind this was more than 3 years before the Oculus Quest and other devices were able to do similar capabilities. So, and as you can imagine, that attracted, of course, a lot of attention in the virtual reality and augmented reality space. So how did we get there? Like the very, very simple, humble beginnings started with a wooden box. And it was really a wooden box like this. It was large. We mounted a camera in there. We were software engineers. We didn't have a lot of idea about hardware. So we just placed off-the-shelf components in there and had a big box which we were moving around to scan something. We were very lucky that we could convince investors to give us money with this box and our software demo. But the next step was a lot harder. We needed to convince customers. And in a very first step, we created a big plan, as startups always do. So we raised money in the beginning of 2009, around 1.2 million. And then you see a nice chart here, which I still use today, the sun ray chart to set the focus. So we had to bring all these disciplines together to successfully bring us to, in our case, a down payment because we followed a licensing business model. It's funny now to look back at these things. And obvious things at that time to us was, okay, the first customers will be, of course, Microsoft and Logitech, because they were the market leaders by far. As it turned out, it wasn't neither of them who became the first customer. So the first customer that we were able to secure was actually someone who didn't have any stake in the computer mouse business. It was a hungry challenger coming from Asia. It was the company LG Electronics. What made the situation more complex is that they told us towards the end of the year, in November, December, that they want to do the deal with us, but only exclusively, and that they want to show it with their hardware, which they already co-designed over a few months on the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. That means we had around 6 to 8 weeks time to sign the contracts, bring everything together and get it running. And remember, we started with a wooden box in 2009, and we had to create it to a whole consumer electronic product. So we made it, but really, really barely. So this was one of the pictures that we took then 1 hour before the show opened. And Consumer Electronics Show is one of the largest trade fairs, and we were right in Central Hall, where the space alone for our little mouse would have costed us otherwise $250,000 to have. So it was a high stakes adventure for us, but we were very lucky that we made it with a lot of hard work and good collaboration. After that, of course, there were a lot of different steps involved to be more successful and to scale it to more customers. So we were lucky that we had partnerships with Dropbox and Evernote, and we're leading this to over 1 million devices sold. And then what we did in 2017, as you have seen on the solution that we have for virtual reality, we had contact with Magic Leap and were then acquired by Magic Leap. And if you don't know Magic Leap, it's a very interesting company which has attracted almost $3 billion funding and had basically the simple idea of what is the next device coming after smartphones. And it has technology breakthrough on display elements, which is enabling a new path and potentially changing how in the future we interact with different devices. But before I jump to the whole future of augmented reality and why I believe that this is much, much better in terms of market sizing than what virtual reality can deliver, and why I think this might be actually happening, I want to share some thoughts on what happened also due to our startup adventures, which are sometimes overlooked. So I just recently reflected a little bit, and what happened with people that we had at Dacuda. So we were very, very fortunate to have a very strong team. Out of the alumni from Dacuda, there were 6 new startups founded until now. We brought 2 big tech centers to Switzerland, Oculus, which is now Facebook Reality Labs, and Magic Leap, which are both building up significant jobs in Switzerland. And of course, we were able to strengthen existing companies with the know-how that also have their offices in Switzerland. For my personal journey, I returned to ETH because I believe that in the next medium that is coming up, we can play a much stronger role with the Swiss engineering and the mentality that we have here than we did in the previous waves. So is there really a new medium coming, and why is this so? So when we joined Magic Leap, it was always like, okay, if you're doing augmented reality glasses, that's a nice gadget, but will it really come, and why now? And one observation that dawned really at this moment to me is that today all of our creativity and productivity is bound by physical displays. So a panel-based display dictates how large of a screen area we have, and that's why we also have to buy different devices. That's why we're buying today a smartphone, a tablet, a laptop, a TV, a monitor, and so on. So what if you could redefine this? What if you could find a new way of interfacing with humans? And we already reached 4 or 5 years ago the point which we celebrated as retina displays, which means that any improvement in display resolution on a mobile phone doesn't give you any more additional benefits. So the time is right for something new. So is this something that is unexpected? Well, in general, you see that every 20 to 30 years, there's a big jump from personal computing to mobile computing, and what is now anticipated as spatial computing. Of course, we don't want to step back on the experiences, and that's why it's very important that also the network compute will play a key role of enabling us to still have great experiences. One statement that made it very clear that this is happening now because big companies are now also officially stating that they're spending significant resources was with the statement from Mark Zuckerberg, the founder and CEO of Facebook, which said that he also believes that in the 2020s we will get augmented reality glasses that will be able to replace smartphones in some near future. So I had to learn from the personal journey from Dacuda why augmented reality is so much different and why it has a chance to become actually a mass application. I think virtual reality is great for immersion, and it looks a little bit like this. You're separated from the physical world, and there are great experiences around simulations. But it's not something that is easily embedded in our daily lives. So in order to be successful, you need to have another property. You need to be able to replace minutes from devices that you already have. And so the breakthrough that I experienced with Magic Leap for the first time is that you have displays that are providing optical see-through and still can augment it. What that means is you can imagine you wear glasses, normal light comes completely through as it would normally, but you're mixing in artificially generated light from the side, which is to your eye creating the perception as something would be happening in your real world. And that's a true game changer. What also is happening is that we're seeing that we're building up something that is sometimes noted as digital twins. So there are more and more technologies coming up to build a full copy of the physical world on the digital side, to make it persistent, to make it shareable, and to augment it in a new way. And that allows us to deploy applications in a new way. So instead of you going somewhere and saying, I want to install this conference app, you actually know already that you are at a conference at this date and this place and time. So you can put different application layers on top. So what it means is we're creating a canvas that can be shared across multiple users in different contexts with different permissions. And you can layer on top applications for art, health, mobility, and so on a way that was not possible like this before. The technologies of digitizing the world are now getting cheaper than ever, and AR clouds are giving the backbone to enable this. But how does it look like from form factor? And what's the game changer? So this here is an example from Facebook, what they revealed like a few weeks or a month ago of Project Aria. And you see it's already a form factor like normal glasses. So I play the first video where you can see it has a bunch of sensors built in. And basically what you see on the left-hand side, this is how it looks like to the glasses from the point of view. So for the first time, you have basically a computer that is not sitting in your pocket like your smartphone, but something that is truly recognizing the world from your point of view. And the video on the right-hand side is an example of how this could look like if you're walking through different experience of the day. So in this example, you see why it's such a big deal also for artificial intelligence and solutions that are context sensitive. Because unlike a phone, which you're pulling out to trigger a decision, suddenly the system recognizes when and how you need help and enhancing your reality in ways that we could not imagine before. So that's all great, but where we are today is still here. At the area where mobile phones were really, really big, we're not at the stage yet where we have the iPhone. The prototype from Facebook is having sensors, but it doesn't have a display yet. So we're still years away from the moment that we get their glasses that are indistinguishable from normal glasses. But it's important that now is the time to participate and shape this new market. So where we need to be is very clear. Small glasses, undistinguishable from normal ones, that have cameras, that have microphones, that we can trust with how they record, process data, how they signal it also to users that are not using this, and that they are also projecting light into our eyes that's physiologically correct and creating the perfect perception so that we want to wear them all day, every day, and everywhere. So I want to conclude briefly. With this new medium, the special thing is now we have two things that come together. The physical world in which we are already immersed, which is now enhanced by a digital layer. And to our brains, if we provide the right signals of light through our eyes or through the ears, it's perceived as a reality. So reality is basically what we interpret of it. And that's why I think the next medium of spatial AI is so powerful, because it has an influence of our experience. It really changes what we perceive during the day. On the top, you still see the applications that are more prevalent today on remote assist, training, and 3D visualization, where it might be okay to wear like a computer on your face, right? But the true killer applications come up once you're at the small form factor. And at the bottom, I listed just a few applications which I found in an earlier presentation from Facebook, which are a little bit thought-provoking on giving you feedback, for instance, on adding more miles to a run based on the calorie it estimates, being able to detect temperatures, or to highlight and mute conversations that you have to focus more in certain context. So certainly it's an area that needs to be shaped in a way. I believe the technological progress will happen, but now it's up to us to shape it. And I hope that many of you as entrepreneurs and artists and responsible people for society will take advantage of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. I do have a question for you. It's not coming from Slack, it's coming from me. You said that it's a few years away, what you're talking about in terms of augmented reality, excuse me. But in this COVID era, where we're on lockdown, doesn't it help sort of boost this whole industry a little bit? And maybe we will see this a little faster? Because we could be on lockdown, but still go out when we put on these glasses.
Exactly. So I think there are a number of use cases which are very exciting to use already today with the bigger devices that are available today, right? But I believe that the moment until it really change things in our society will be when there is mass adoption and we're running around in public with this. And just also to give one more challenge in this context, imagine smartphones today. When you're at the dinner table, you put out your smartphone, you're cutting off social interactions. So is there maybe a way that with a new medium that we could design it to be less invasive and more connected while you're interacting with others? So I like technology that bridges gaps and brings people together. And I think we have the opportunity to shape it with this.
Thank you very much. That's what we're trying to do today with all the different platforms that we have with Slack and Remo, etc. Thank you very much, Professor Alex Ilic.